Ladies and gentlemen, the following is another outstanding episode of the Wrestling Fans Podcast, Ringside Society. In one corner, we have the greatest thing on God's green earth. No, we're not talking about money, Mary Jane or Popeye Spinach. He's the tranquil of Ringside Society and Delaware's greatest American hero. It takes two to make a thing go right. He's Rob Bass, and you are not. And in the second quarter, we have that ocean crossing, straight up bossing, flight catching, shot glass snatching, always positive, life is great. 592, living in the 718, the time zone traveler, the worldwide starboy, Remy Blue. And our special guest tonight is a man who is making a name for himself in the great state of Georgia. Oh man, Georgia or Georgia. Every time I go to you, I come back 20 pounds heavier because the food is off the chain like Django. He's also not just making a name for himself in Georgia, but more specifically, one of our favorite promotions, the Nightmare Factory. Yes, the Nightmare Factory, which has produced great people such as the Diamond Sheik, the Bodyguard Austin Green, Karma Dean, current CCW and MPW tag team champions, the Renegade Twins, and so on and so on. Everybody, welcome to the show, Lewis Santiago.
Thanks, everyone.
Woo!
Appreciate you guys having me on.
No problem, man. Lewis, I gotta say, you know, legitimately, when I saw, because I've seen the last three, I've seen the last three. Hold on, give me 1 second. Give me 1 second.
So how are you doing today, man? How's the day
Yeah.
been for you?
Hey, I'm good. It's a Monday. Everyone's getting their week started. It's just one of those. One of those Mondays where you just have something new to do. This is actually really fun. I'm excited. Definitely kind of nice to change the pace for a Monday night.
There you go. There you go.
Yeah, sorry about that. I just had to fix something real quick.
Hey.
But yeah, I just gotta say, I was watching. I've seen the last three student showcases, and I'm always excited when I see them because I'm every time I see one, I'm always left with an OMG moment. The first one, it was Cat Spencer and Brooke Havoc coming out in one of the baddest entrances in Nightmare Factory student showcase history in that car.
Yes.
The, the third one was actually the Mountain Mama Jess Barnes going toe to toe with the his name is Mercury Peace, I think his name is.
Mhm.
He's the wrestling warden, huge dude. She went toe to toe with that guy, and she also eliminated Cardi Bravo.
Yes.
And also the second one, the OMG moment was, and Dean Alexander is probably gonna kick my butt if he ever sees me in person. Dean Alexander losing to -1. That was those are some crazy OMG moments. But when I saw the third one, I was like, okay, we here at Ringside Society, we like to give the listeners stories from every angle of professional wrestling. When I mean every angle, I mean not just the pro wrestlers, but also the managers, the ring announcers, etc., and of course the referees. Because
Yeah.
believe it or not, you guys are important because you guys make the call and determine who's the winner, and or if it's a no contest. And when I saw Coach, I was like, okay, let me pay attention. Who are these referees? And then I saw Paul Espinal,
Hmm.
and I was like, okay, let me contact Paul. I got to get Paul on the show. And then I was like, Paul, who are the other referees there? And one of them you mentioned was you. So I was like, because I saw you guys, it was you and another guy, and we actually and we were like, I was like, okay, I got to get these two guys on the show. I mean, yeah, Paul Espinal is a great guy, but I got to get the other two. I got to go. We got to get these other two guys, and get them to tell their stories. So yeah, man, you've been on our radar, man, and we really appreciate you taking time out just to shoot the breeze with us about wrestling and
Yeah.
so on. And
Absolutely, man. I appreciate that. Yeah, the showcase shows are super fun. And they definitely you know, they're definitely different in regards to like production value sometimes, in regards to other places that you know you may go to, etc. It's really, you know, it's really fun to do a show like that. That's really, you know, heavily, you know, focusing on the, you know, the big picture, and the you know, the action, especially from the students that have been working so hard through their entire camp. It's their time to shine, and we do our best to make sure that everything goes off without a hitch for them.
Oh, you're on mute, man.
Oh yeah.
I gotta stop doing that. New season, I'm still doing that. But yeah, I actually I actually always look forward to, because after, so I saw the second one that y'all had, because Diamond Sheik, who's a good friend of ours,
Mhm.
he actually graduated with the second class, and he told us there was a showcase that was featuring them. So I was like, okay, you know, I'm gonna go support Diamond Sheik and whatnot. And then but then I noticed there was a first one. There was a first showcase that I
Yes.
didn't know about. So okay, well, I guess I'm gonna see that one. And I tell you, I've never been disappointed by them. You're probably gonna think I'm lying, but what I could tell you this: the second showcase that y'all had, it aired the same month as the WB pay-per-view, and I enjoyed that showcase more than most of that. That was the pay-per-view with the zombies, where Miz got grabbed by zombies and taken away.
I
I
don't remember.
enjoyed y'all. I enjoyed y'all showcase more than that pay-per-view. I think
Oh,
Rob did too, and the thing is, Rob is a huge Walking Dead fan, and
oh
he
yeah.
enjoyed that more than the zombies.
Well, I appreciate that. Yeah, the you know, again, each showcase, you know, between 1 and 3, there's definitely a little bit of flavors in regards to you know, how each particular showcase goes and what they're, you know, what they're trying to convey. So each showcase has definitely its own vibe, and like the big hit moments, you know, that come out from, you know, the car entrance to the battle royals, um, to, you know, to the sheer amount of shenanigans from Alexander Dean. So they're all different, and each one of them is, you know, set out to, you know, make all of the students proud, you know, and, you know, go out there and have fun, and show that all their hard work is, you know, not, you know, that all their hard work pays off.
Yeah, that's cool. That's definitely cool, and y'all definitely do a great job as well. But I just gotta ask, man. So, what was the pay-per-view or the show that made you
Hmm.
become a fan of professional wrestling? Like, how did it start for you?
Okay. As far as wrestling, just in general. Okay.
Yeah.
So I actually started getting into wrestling sometime around 1994. Um, I was uh, I was a big fan of a show on USA called Quantum Leap. You guys know that show? Yeah.
Oh boy.
Yeah. So I mean, during that time frame, again, it was like 94, you know, 93, around in there. I had been watching Quantum Leap, and it was a show that I liked. And then they would run the Raw, I think, afterwards, if I'm not mistaken. Monday Night Raw would either come on, you know, a little bit after Quantum Leap during that time frame, and it was on USA, which is what, you know, what when Raw was on. So I started watching wrestling pretty much during that time. Previous to that, you'd seen, you know, Hulk Hogan, Macho Man, and, you know, all the other big names during the, you know, time from the 80s, kind of popping up everywhere on TV. So you knew who Hulk Hogan was, you knew who Macho Man was. But as a kid, it didn't necessarily like resonate, I guess, at that point, until roughly around that time. I had been playing some of the games on like the Super Nintendo, like the Royal Rumble games, and you would see these characters and you'd be like, man, this is kind of neat. My friend let me borrow a cartridge one time, and I'm like, oh, this is kind of like what's going on and what I'm seeing. So I'd play the games first and kind of I'd had an idea on like what to expect, and during that time it was like the Raw era with like Nash, Scott Hall, Undertaker, Bret Hart, Mr. Perfect, those, that particular, era. And then, I guess from that point, after just watching TV and then it just coming up on my screen after a show that I was watching, it just kind of was familiar. So I just let it go. And then after that, it was addicting if that's the way to say it. So it
So
wasn't
you, so
necessarily
you,
like a pay-per-view or anything. It was just stumbling onto Raw and watching it from there.
my story was kind of similar where I started with a pay-per-view. It was Hulk Hogan and Brutus Beefcake versus Macho Man or Macho King as he was known as at the time,
Right.
and Zeus. And I was hooked. I was like, yo, that's crazy. I got to see more of that. And eventually I started watching it weekly, and there would be some kind of qualms in my house because my aunt would be like, she thought I would have gotten violent by watching
Sure.
that, but
Right.
I never did. I never put a sleeper on anybody or did a leg drop on anybody. I
Right.
mean, and we never really played wrestling like in school. It wasn't until I got a bit older that we kind of played it.
Right.
And it wasn't no impact move. It would be like a submission move, or I'd be the big guy that would do the torture rack on people and whatnot. But it wasn't like any hardcore stuff like and so on. We weren't
I
that
think I think everybody's had that, like when you get your friends, when you find that like one guy who likes wrestling just like you, and you're like, oh my gosh, this is like the best thing ever, and you like gravitate towards them. It's like, so let me try this out, like on you, and you're like doing the $1 million dream on somebody, It's like,
Yeah.
is this the way the arm works? And you're like throwing them out. Yeah, it's definitely, you can't help but to try, and it's like when you're kid, just going like, well, let's wrestle it around, I guess.
Yeah. But you pretty much got into it. So you got into it around the new generation era when you had
Yeah.
Diesel and Shawn Michaels and
Yeah, so
which
that's around that time that I got into wrestling, like I think like right before, like no, right after, I think Hulk Hogan jumped to WCW, and again, that's just to put a time frame on it because I wasn't watching WCW at that time frame. But yeah, I would probably say like the 94 time frame is probably 94, 95, running there.
Yeah, that was a pretty good time, man. I tell you, back then, kids don't know how it was back then, man. Oh, geez. Now you got all these promotions popping up. You got GCW, AEW, and Impact, and y'all got a whole Forbidden Door and whatnot. I'm like, man.
There's a whole lot. I mean, there's a lot of wrestling right now. I mean, if you're if you're a fan, I can only imagine you. It's just, if you wanted to be like that really, really hardcore, there's a lot to digest. I mean, a lot. I forget how many hours of programming I think AEW has alone. Dark Elevation, Rampage, and then Dynamite. I think that's like almost going on 10 hours, of pro, and that's just one promotion.
So Dark and Dark Elevation, I'd say, are like roughly 3 hours.
Oh, so it's more than that then.
So Dark and Dark Elevation are actually like roughly 2.5 to 3 hours. Dynamite is 2 hours, definitely.
Right.
and then there's AEW Rampage. I'd say like roughly 6 hours, which is pretty awesome. So so now, how did you end up like getting into like? Did you ever? You're a referee, of course, as
Yeah,
we know,
yeah.
but how did you end up like getting involved with the business and so on? Like, how did you know? Of course, you're a fan now. You're cheering your favorites
Hmm.
and whatnot. How did you end up? How did the referee thing happen for you, or were you a
So
wrestler?
no, so I wasn't a wrestler beforehand. I've been a fan obviously since the time frame we spoke about, all the way up until and then I'm still a fan now, but you go through gaps, where you watch like hardcore, you're into it, and sometimes depending on how life is, you don't watch as much, et cetera, et cetera. So from about 94 to about 2005, so I would be watching pretty much everything nonstop. From 2005 onward is when it kind of got spotty during certain years, and I started getting really back into it during the Shield, like that time frame when the Shield was in on the main roster, and during that time frame where Seth Rollins and the New Day, Brock Lesnar was like the big powerhouse. So at that time frame, I can't remember at the top of my head what year that kind of like started happening. So from that point till about 2000 and 2019 is when I became like basically a big heavy watcher. I would watch the other promotions like Lucha Underground, New Japan when they were on Access, etc. But um, how I got into this was I during the time frame of like the Jim Ross podcast when he broke the news of his wife's passing. It was I was listening and I was sitting at work and I was just like, oh man, life is short. You never know like what can happen, and like it basically I'd been a fan. I've always wanted to do something in wrestling. When I was little, I would say that I'm going to end up here, but that would be in my head, but I never pushed it to like to take it into that level, and I was always kind of scared to let people know around me that's kind of what I wanted to do. I know it sounds kind of silly nowadays, but I know that the stigma with like wrestling, etc. But during that time frame, I said I can't regret not trying. Um, so I just went ahead and started searching for schools, and um, before it was Nightmare Factory, it was One Fall Power Factory is when I started. So I started in spring of 2019. But yeah, that's the kind of the catalyst that brought me into it. Is that I didn't want to regret not trying, and I figured that would be obviously a big achievement for me to go in that route. And not to mention, I have two younger children, and I wanted to make sure that to teach them that you can do anything as long as you try. So I guess 2 years later, 2.5 years later, I'm here.
Yeah, I mean, it's always great to follow your dreams. And I was telling I was telling a young lady yesterday that we had on our show that a lot of times when people say they make fun of you or they try to put a bad stigma on you or they say pretty much you can't do it is
Right.
because they can't do it themselves. They're projecting their own limitations on
Sure.
you. And if you look at it, when you make it, when you become successful in what you're doing, you're following your dreams and you're enjoying yourself, it's either two things they're going to do. They're either going to hate, say, you got lucky, yeah, I could have done it too, but,
Sure.
or they're going to be like, yo, and this is the one thing I hate when they're like, yo, I knew you could have made it, man. Yo, you the man, man. Yo, I was you like, but you were saying the other day that I couldn't do it. like, yo, can I get some free? No, get in the back of the line and pay like everybody else, man.
Make him get a ticket, right?
Yeah, like, come on, like, first you were supporting me and whatnot, and then now you're like, yeah, I mean,
I think it just goes back to sometimes people don't understand, and it's okay. Like sometimes foreign concepts. I mean, I don't understand everything. If I don't play basketball, so I wouldn't be able to understand what the situation behind basketball. But I mean, I think anyone can go and put in the effort and and the bravery to try, because I think that especially in times like this when everyone's really supportive about everything, I don't think anyone should have any fears in regards to trying something. Um, and trying. My buddy used to say the adage, it's like you miss every shot you don't take. So you just gotta just take the shot, and if you don't make it, try it again. That type of
yeah,
situation. So I mean,
yeah,
it's all about trying.
and it's worked out for you. And I take it you've referee. Have you ever refereed on AEW yet?
I have not. No, I have not.
Okay, because I saw that I noticed Paul was on there, and I was like,
Yes.
yo, that's Paulie. Yo, he made
Yeah.
it, man. He was on AEW Dark, and I was very happy for him and
Yeah.
whatnot.
Me
Because
too.
it's always a great feeling where when, like, for us, when you see somebody, but when we see somebody that was on our show, doing big things,
Right.
especially when they're now starting and they go off and do big things and whatnot. And that's why I always say one of our mottos is that we don't care. One of our philosophies is that we don't care if you never make it to WWE or AEW or Impact or
Sure.
GCW or whichever other promotions are considered, because to me there's no big three. There's just a whole huge number of them now,
Yeah.
and we don't really care if you never make it on any of them. But the fact that you step into that ring and put on a show for us, that's enough for us to say, hey, we want to hear your story. And I like to play chess. I like to play chess, but I don't like to play the chess. Wait, no, I don't like to play chess, but I like to play chess.
Okay.
I suck at the actual game of chess.
Sure.
Trust me, a blind man could beat me. But when it comes to playing chess with, like, okay, let me have this person on here. Let me have that person on there. Nobody knows who they are, but we want to hear their story.
Right.
And then, okay, they're still doing their thing. They're still doing their thing. They just made an appearance on AEW. Oh, they got signed by WWE. Awesome. Congrats on your AEW appearance as well. Oh, you're on Impact now. Thumbs up.
Right.
You know, that's why I always enjoy doing this as well. And to see Paulie actually end up, on AEW, I was very happy for him as well too, because like I said, refereeing is not something easy. Like, I'm pretty sure Rob could agree with me, but you know, I've never gotten in a ring, but I could
Sure.
tell that refereeing is not easy. You don't have to tell me. I know it's not easy. So
It's a lot of I guess pressure, because we want to be able to do right by the athletes in the ring, and we also want to be able to make the right call when for the fans too. So it's definitely not it's not an easy job, and sometimes it's a overlooked job, and and I mean that with great respect. But um, so far, my journey in this with that particular position as an official has been really rewarding. In regards to going through and making right by my peers and the fans alike.
yeah, that's. So you've done it for Nightmare Factory.
Mhm.
Have you refereed for any other promotions aside from Nightmare Factory?
I have. So right now, I'm primarily doing work for a promotion called Pro South Wrestling. So they're based out of
I
Piedmont,
think
Alabama. Yeah,
I
so
think I've heard
they're
of
based
them.
out of Piedmont, Alabama. So it's like they're like right out of the Georgia line. So in 2001, I refereed for like 6 promotions. Pro South Wrestling out of Alabama, Peach State Wrestling out of Carrollton, Georgia Premier Wrestling out of Jasper, Georgia, Live Wire Wrestling out of Augusta, Georgia, and then obviously Nightmare Factory. So, um, 2021 was probably the more like the basically the start year or the most productive year so far, because based in the time frame when I started, 2019 was mostly training, doing shows for the home promotion, and then doing a show right before 2020. Then COVID hit. So once COVID hit, it was pretty much hunker down at the house, and it's I had to do what was right for me and my family, and I just couldn't. We didn't know what was going on, so staying at home was the right move for me. And then as the end of 2020 hit, I think that's when the first Nightmare Factory showcase was, and then into 2021, more promotions from there. So I just did a show last Friday for Pro South. So right now, that's the most active promotion that I'm working right now. Right now, Georgia Premier Wrestling as well, out of Jasper, Georgia. Um, and then I'll be debuting for a new promotion come March of 2022.
Awesome. I'm very glad that that's working out for you. Honestly speaking, I don't think anybody should count 2020 as a year. Like we don't even count it because that was a year where that everything was just shut down unless you were like AEW, WWE. Like it's that's like everybody's like, excuse here. Like yeah, that was just that year, and
Well,
and
those people didn't, those people couldn't afford to stop, right? So if you were in a big promotion like WWE or AEW, you just had to figure out a way around it, right? And still produce your product, and it worked out. It worked out beautifully for for those promotions. Um,
Mhm.
I will say I kind of found it a little bit hard from WWE side, watching the people on the screen. That was kind of like like jarring for me when they had all the people on the screen. There wasn't anybody in the building at all. Um, Whereas like AEW showed, they at least had the other wrestlers, um, and other people around the ring kind of cheering them on. So, but yeah, 2020 was a weird year. So yeah, strange.
And you know what's ironic? It was 2014. I don't know if you guys ever saw this advertisement, but it was around WrestleMania time, and WWE had this whole thing about we can have the production trucks, the lights, and everything. And you see Daniel Bryan coming out doing the whole yes, or as Brian Danielson as he's known now,
Yeah.
but he's coming out, he's doing the whole yes movement, the whole yes gesture and whatnot. And he comes out, but when he looks around, there's no fans, and then WWE's like, without you, there's no WWE.
Universe.
And then
Yeah.
fast forward 6 years later, they're in that predicament. So I'm like, okay, you guys seem to be doing fine right now. There's no fans in the building, you know.
Right. It's just strange to watch. I mean, like it's never been a situation where I have watched a show or been to where there aren't any fans, and I think fans are just a big part. That's what we do, the biggest part of that. And yeah, you can put on a good show and and keep things alive, but there's a little magic missing. That's
Yeah,
how just a little
yeah,
magic. missing.
It definitely is. So I just got two more questions to ask, and I gotta ask my second. Like I know Rob is chomping at a bit. He's probably gonna ask you a bunch of refereeing questions, and you
Sure.
guys are probably gonna have this whole refereeing lingo that I don't understand, and then whatnot. But my second to last question is: what referees, what three referees would you say, if any, would you
Uh-huh.
say are an inspiration for you in your refereeing career?
Well, I think, I mean, like right now, I think you'd be hard pressed to ask anyone and them not mention Aubry Edwards. She's a huge inspiration, I think, for all referees. She's just an inspirational character and person in the business in general. Um, so I think she's kind of top on my list as far as inspiration goes. And then you know referees from back in the day. I was a big ECW fan, so Jim Molyneux from ECW, um, uh, Tim White, I think from WWE from the New Generation era. He was, I think, he was one of those referees that I don't know. They just looked, they looked different. They stood out, and I think I like that. In regards to it. Even though he's not necessarily a referee, like he didn't end up being a referee for a long time. Bill Alfonso, crazy, loud, um, and he was in WCW, I guess, prior to his ECW days. But that was just another character. Who else? Um, Pee Wee Anderson from WCW. He was
Oh,
just
Randy
yeah.
Anderson, right?
Yeah. Randy
I
Anderson. He
remember
was a
him.
big. He was a big. I mean, he just knew something about the way he did stuff and his look, and it was, I think, sometimes quintessential referee. Like with the blue shirt. I think it's during the time frame when WCW had the blue shirt with the bow tie. I mean, just boom.
That's the thing I like. Back in those days, especially WCW, they at least let you knew who the referees were. You had Randy Anderson, you had Nick
Right.
Patrick, you
Right.
had um Mark Curtis, R.I.P. Mark
Mark Curtis.
Curtis,
Yeah.
and
Yep.
R.I.P. Randy Anderson. And they let you know who they were. And I was like, why does WB not do this? I mean, why don't they at least mention once they're referees? I mean, instead of us like unless I look up look them
Who
up
they
on
are.
Google or Twitter, I wouldn't know who they are. I know who Daryl Sharma is. He's the first ever, to my knowledge, and for those of y'all listening, correct me if I'm wrong. He's the first ever Fijian referee in WB, and as a matter of fact, I think the third ever or fourth Fijian employee, because there was
Mhm.
Superfly Jimmy Snuka,
Right.
his son Sim Snuka, and his daughter Tamina Snuka, and then there's
Mhm.
Daryl Sharma, and then you have people like Aja Smith, who I've seen. As a matter of fact, I'm pretty sure you've heard of her before because she
So
was
no,
actually
so
injured.
funny story about Aja is that like my first day in, literally the first day in training, she was still wrestling at the time. She punked me out so hard, and then it was just it was just like a welcome to the business moment, right? And it's interesting how it ended up, and I know it was like part of, I just got in after doing it, and I started working a live match, and like when they're getting up in your face and they're slapping you to tell you to count to three, and and again, that was again my first, pretty much my first, day or two in. I mean, it was within the first 3 days for sure, and she showed up there one time when she was still a wrestler, and did that, and it was like oh yeah, this is what that is. Like welcome to, this is how it's gonna be. So yeah, so that's when I found out that she was going to be a referee for WWE. I was like, oh yes, that's awesome. So I was pretty pumped for that.
Yeah, she's definitely I've followed her since 2014. and I was very happy for her, and because she'd actually she's a hard worker. I've seen her like go to even like I think Europe. I know she went to Japan as well too, and I'm just happy for all the success she's been having, and
Yeah.
hopefully I'm crossing my fingers that maybe she'll get to wrestle in WWE, but who knows, Um, then again, a lot of times referees tend to, have a longer career. And from what I've seen, they tend to have a longer career in WWE. So
Sure.
yeah, I just have to see what happens. But my last question is, somebody's getting. I mean, you've pretty much been in the business for 2 years, and you have 2 years of experience, and so on.
Hmm.
Somebody is getting into the wrestling business and they say, you know what, I don't want to bump. I mean, well, no, I don't want to bump too much as a wrestler, but I don't have to
Sure.
bump as a referee,
Right.
and I want to be a referee.
Sure.
What advice would you give that person?
Um, my biggest advice to somebody who wants to be, let's just put it this, like who says, "Hey, I want to go into the wrestling business, and I want to be able to be a referee or do something." So, uh, the way I approached it was simply trying to figure out what number one, what you're good at and what you feel is good for you. I've had stories of people saying that they want to come into wrestling, and they come in wanting to be a referee, and then turn around and it's like, nah, this isn't for me, because they want to be a wrestler. Like deep down inside, they want to fulfill that dream of being a wrestler. And I think anyone who in the business who wants to become uh, a person or a character within the business probably at some point in time had had dreams of being a wrestler. So again, one of those things is that just kind of my advice would just be, if you're wanting to uh, be a referee, just go to a school, learn the trade, and listen, learn, and then just know that's kind of, if that's truly what you want to be, then go for it. I just know that sometimes a lot of people, they get in, they want to say, okay, well, I'm going to be a referee, and then they're like, oh man, I think I can actually do this, because the bug hits them. And that's not a knock. It's just, once you get a little bit of a taste, right? You kind of want to shoot for bigger and better things. But I mean, really, just general advice I think that anybody ever gives somebody else is that, first and foremost, try. Know that that it's not for everyone, as far as like time frame, and doing what you have to do to make it to a show. The traveling is real. So if you want to make it, or you want to get your name out there, you're gonna have to drive and make miles, etc. Those type of things. I know it kind of all sound and seem cliche, but that's kind of really what the advice. But the biggest advice is go for it, right? You're never gonna see if you can do it if you don't try. So if anybody wants to go out there and be part of a show, or think they have something to offer within wrestling, you don't have to be a referee. You can train to be a manager, a announcer, a valet. I mean, there's a whole vast variety of roles that a good show needs, right? So that's really what how I would probably approach it.
Awesome. So for those of y'all listening that want to be a referee, you got a little bit of advice from a 2 year pro right here. So, and not just any 2 year pro. He's from the Nightmare Factory, one of the best promotions and I'm not just saying that. Like, I'm serious. Like, I can't. I always look forward to their showcases. So you're actually getting advice from a referee who is affiliated with that company. Anything else, you probably got to pay him for it. He'll probably send you his Cash App or his PayPal. and he'll give you some more advice. But you got a little something. Right now, I'm going to turn it over to Rob. I know Rob has a lot of questions for you as well. Him being a referee and whatnot. So, Rob, go ahead, man. The floor is yours.
All right, sweet. Thanks, Remy. So what's going
Hey,
on, man? How you doing today?
I'm doing well, man. How are you?
I'm well, man. I'm glad to get to talk to another referee today, man. So it's awesome, you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's always nice to talk to other zebras, and bounce off situations and just questions.
Yeah. Sometimes, man, being caught up on the show and all, man, I'll start talking and be like, oh man, we ain't supposed to talk about this, you know what I mean? I have to wait for after the show about this stuff, man. So I'll get caught up and forget all about we're on camera and all that. I'm like, oh, okay.
Right.
So, man, you were talking about Quantum Leap, man. Yeah, I used to love that show. When you mentioned that, I was like, oh man, how do you feel about the ending of that show? Because I believe it ended. It was like, and Sam never leapt back into his body or whatever. You know what I mean? Everybody got a happy ending. He didn't.
I don't, to be honest, man. I watched so many episodes of that, but after the original runs, and then from that point, like it became wrestling. I don't know what happened. Like all I know as far as like when I was a kid watching Quantum Leap is that the storyline was deep, and they still play the show on I forget what the network is, on one of the streaming channels, and I'll catch it. But the show was deep. It made you feel good. The whole I was super obsessed with the Ziggy
Oh
the
yeah.
the Ziggy handheld thing. When I was a kid, I used to make Legos out of I used to make a Ziggy out of Legos. But I mean, I should catch the ending. I just don't. If I did catch it, I don't remember what happens. To be honest,
Mm.
but I mean, it's. I just remember. I just remember that show being like one of the first things. Well, not really one of the first things, but one of the many things that I actually clung on to.
Yeah, I like Quantum Leap, man. Yeah, when you were saying, I was like, it did used to come on before wrestling and stuff. I remember that, you know. Yeah, I was like, okay. 'Cause I
Right.
remember after wrestling, it was a show called Silk Stockings. And I
Yes.
remember that.
Or La Femme Nikita, you remember that one?
Yes, La Femme Nikita.
La
Yep,
Femme
yeah, it was
Nikita.
that.
So
Yeah,
they would advertise that one too, but Silk Stockings. And you were like, when my age and during that time, from like, do I want to
yeah. Mom
watch
and Dad
this?
had to be in bed.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Right.
first 5-10 minutes of that show, like, woo.
Yeah. Yep. Silk Stockings. Remember that one?
Oh man. Yeah, I did. And then you also mentioned, man, you're an ECW fan. Is that you
Yes.
used to watch that stuff, man?
Yes.
See, I live in Delaware, and they used to come here all the time to colleges and stuff. I used to always go to ECW and watch
Yeah.
them. My mom, she would never let me go to ECW Arena because, you know what I mean, I was like 16, 17 at the time. My
Right.
brother, he's like 9, 10, and I had to bring him with me. My mom was like, you're not bringing him to Philly to ECW Arena. You're a 10-year-old kid? No. No. I'm like, oh, why you got to be like that, Mom?
What's
Now that I
the
look back, I'm like, oh, yeah,
Yeah,
okay.
what's the distance from where you were to Philly for the ECW arena? Like, how far do you think that
mm,
drive would have been?
hour and a half,
Oh, so
hour,
you were
a little
close.
over an hour. Yeah,
That's
yeah, it's
awesome.
not far.
Yeah,
Baltimore's probably 2 hours. Baltimore's farther away. Philly's like an hour.
right. So I mean, the first show I was able to the first ECW show I went to was here in Georgia when WrestlePalooza '98 was at
Mm.
the Cobb County Civic Center. So like to follow up on Remy's question, it's like if I had a pay-per-view that was like kind of solidified part of that love for wrestling and everything in general, going to that show was like a life-altering experience. So I was one of the lucky ones that got to experience ECW live, in some form or fashion before they went under. But during that time frame when I was watching, WWE and WCW, every so often you'd click on, and my buddy who was watching with me, he would be like, "Hey, turn on the channel to this channel," and it'd be ECW, and you're like, "What is this?" Like, who's wrestling in like mom's, like woodshed, or like it's just rundown. And again, it's like because you're so spoiled as watching the production value of a WWF or a
Mhm.
WCW, and you see ECW, and you're like, what the heck is this? I think I remember seeing a match between Shane Douglas and Too Cold Scorpio for the television title sometime around 95 or 96 or something like that, and being like, this is insane. And that was kind of part of it. But yeah, I was a big ECW fan, like big ECW fan.
Who were some of your favorites from ECW?
Oh gosh. Okay, so RIP, we lost one of my favorites last year, New Jack, and it was when I found out about his passing, and that was a bummer, to me. New Jack was definitely one of them. Tommy Dreamer was a big influence. I got to do a show with Tommy Dreamer in 2020, right before the pandemic. He was on the card, so I got a chance to meet him on a professional level. So Tommy Dreamer, Sandman was always Raven. Like I love Raven. Raven was an awesome character. Um, so yeah, New Jack, Raven, Tommy Dreamer. I loved all of ECW, but those probably my top three.
Rob,
Oh yeah,
tell him about Mustafa Said, man.
yeah. After remember when New Jack had that it was Beyond the Ring episode or
Yeah,
whatever that show's called.
the
Well,
Vice.
Remy got yeah. Well, Remy got Mustafa Syed on the show, on the podcast, like a
Oh,
week after or whatever. And
right.
it was like, why didn't they interview him? You know what I mean? He's a tag team partner again, so we interviewed him, right? So we're chatting and all, and I was talking with him, and he brought up, the pencil shaving stuff, and he was like,
Yeah.
man, it's not pencil. He wasn't smoking pencil shavings. He was smoking a Sherm stick. That's what he was smoking. It wasn't pencil shavings. It was Sherm stick. I was like, all right. Let's
What
get
is
that cleared
that?
up right now.
What is
Yeah, we
that?
gotta get that cleared up, man. It wasn't pencil shavings. It's Sherm stick.
What? That's crazy.
So yeah, I've gone back and watched that, and I'm like, oh man, no, it wasn't pencil shaving. It was a Sherm stick, man.
Yeah, no, it's you just don't know. But yeah, the New Jack episode of that was intense and fun all at the same time, because New Jack is, that's how he is. When I met New Jack at a show before an ECW show, and a person, and like a character like New Jack, you would think, when a 15-year-old, 16-year-old kid walks up to you, and it's New Jack, so you're just like, what am I gonna do, or whatever. The nicest person at that moment in time to a 14, 15-year-old walking up to him ever, and it's one of those things, one of the best like wrestling fan moments ever for me, was getting to meet New Jack backstage as he's wearing this big like fro wig. It was funny. Yeah. So yeah, New Jack was classic to me. I know, he's controversial and everything like that, and his history, but just classic to me. Just New Jack.
That's
R.I.P.
right.
baby.
That's right. That's right. There you go. Now, like we were saying before, you ref and all for the Nightmare Factory and stuff.
Yeah.
So how cool is it, when you're doing shows or whatever, you run into, some of the students and all, that come through there and all, and you're like, oh, hey, what's going on? How you doing? How cool is it, seeing them out there doing their thing, man?
I mean, it's really awesome seeing, those guys that are putting in the work, and making a name for themselves. Some of those students are, they don't know me from Adam. They hardly see me during the time frame when they train versus times when I'm there. But they're always super nice, and they're always super appreciative when I'm there. I mean, and being humble is truly a big trait, in this business. So it's awesome. I mean, it really is. Those, some of the nicest people I've met, and I know like there's people from all walks of life, different times, or age gaps, nationality gaps. But everybody's super cool, and one of the biggest things is, we all treat each other with respect, and goof off, as well. But it really is. It's humbling, where a guy my age, at this point, can go in and be treated with respect, just like these young cats are. And I do my best to make sure that they get what they need out of their matches, etc. And I treat them with just as much respect as they treat me.
That's right. And I know you must be a good ref and stuff, man, because I had emails or DMs or whatever when we were promoting the show. People going, "Yo, man, Lewis is a good dude, man. I like that guy, man. He's awesome and stuff." That doesn't happen too often, man. You know what I mean? So yeah, you're the man down there in Georgia and stuff, man. They like you down there.
I appreciate it, man. I'm just trying to carve out a little niche in this, giant world that is pro wrestling.
That's right. So being a ref, man, how do you like being a ref? You know, what I mean, you're going out there and stuff
Oh,
because I always equate it to being like if you watch football, you're like an offensive lineman. You could be the best offensive lineman in the world or whatever, one of the top five or whatever. Nobody knows who you are. You know what I mean?
sure.
Yeah, nobody's gonna
Yeah.
recognize you. I'm like, yeah, it's a thankless job, but it's awesome. You know what I mean? So how do you like being a ref?
I mean, to be honest, it fits me and my personality the best. Again, because I want to be part of the business. I want to do my part. I want to help. Um, and go out there and do what I can. And it's going out there and doing my job to the best of my ability with the competitors in the ring, making sure that that the crowd is happy with the overall picture and the matches, um, is really like kind of what gets, if I know a match goes well and it looks good on the TV, and it's I've gone out there and called it down the middle, and I felt like I made the right call, and everyone was like, yeah, it's a good match. That's all I could want, is just making sure the product is good, that the outcomes work out, and then, like you said, man, I get to be around some really, really great folks, and like just sit there, like a fly on the wall, and just see it go down. I don't need all of the hoopla and ballyhoo. I think who's that says that all the time. But anyway, yeah, I don't need all of that. I don't need to be 100, known. I appreciate it that people have taken my work and said, "Yo, Ray's doing a good job." That makes me happy. I'm a word of mouth kind of guy. I'm a let my work show, um, and let it, it'll get to the right people. you know it'll get to the right
Yeah,
people, and everything that I've had from this point has been all pretty much word of mouth, where people have either said, hey, hit this guy up. I'll take an opportunity, and then I'll build on that opportunity to go forward. So I enjoy being a referee. It is the right spot for me in this business.
that's right. My bad. Excuse me. So, do you remember your very first match you refed? And were you nervous and was it crazy? And is it on YouTube or anything?
Okay, so I think my first match was for a One Fall Power Factory show. So basically, the school show. It's on YouTube, I think. I'm not sure, but I did the whole show. I was the only ref there.
Mm,
So I Iron Manned it my first night, like as a pro. Like if like you say, debuted on
yeah,
X date. So my first debut was an Iron Man scenario in the middle
that's
of
right. Oh
summer
man.
in like August of 2019. But I don't remember
Mm,
the first match, to be honest.
okay.
I really don't. Was I nervous? Um, yes, but it's like I knew what I had to do. I may not have probably done it like perfectly and to the T, but I knew what I had to do, and I've been watching wrestling for so long. I knew, like, if in my brain I'm like, well, the camera's back here, or technically hard cam, so it's like right
Yeah.
there. I know where I have to be. I know what kind of cues I gotta to hit. Um, so yeah. Okay. So I will say I do remember one of my matches during that. It was a match between Nasty Leroy and a gentleman called Bolo. Um, and one of the spots where they were going through, and he's in the corner. I'm checking him, and Bolo just decides he's just gonna come at me, and he boom in the corner just squashes me.
Mm.
So I'm out for a while, and as I'm collecting myself, I'm hearing stuff go down. I wake up, and I see it's over. So I'm counting the three. But um, my daughter was in the crowd that first night, and she was upset because she was concerned for my safety, but I was fine and everything worked out. But yeah, first I remember my first match. I remember little spots, from that I remember that particular match because of what happened. I got sandwiched, um, but yeah, it was a fun night from start to finish.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. Yeah, Iron Man thing. Oh man, I can imagine. Yeah, you just probably just like, oh, give me a bottle of water right here in this corner. All right, I'm here for the whole night. He's just right
That's
here.
it. That's all you
Yep,
can do is just just be like, okay, let's
yep.
go.
Yeah, man. You have to get your drink. Like, all right, here, pass it to the announce table or whatever. Yeah, and then after the match, here, give me this.
That's
I
exactly
can
how
imagine
it
if I had to
went.
use the restaurant, like, kill 5 minutes or whatever. I gotta go hit the can real quick or whatever. You know what I mean? Let me
Well,
go do that real quick.
in the middle of August, you're sweating so
Yeah,
much
that's true.
in a hot
Yeah,
building.
yeah,
You're not going anywhere because
yeah. That's true. That's
it's
true.
all coming right out of you.
That's true. That's true. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I believe that. And so, when is your next match or whatever? Well, show that you're reffing at? Is it this
Um,
weekend?
this weekend I'm actually attending a seminar. Always have to try and get better. So
Hmm.
I'm attending a seminar in Alabama. It's a Aubry Edwards seminar, so it'll be my first time being being able to see a seminar with her. It's for a company called the Belladonna Division out of Gadsden, Alabama.
Hmm.
So they
Casey
are.
Dillon.
I'm sorry.
Casey Dillon. She runs there. Whatever.
Yeah, I've never. That's my first time there, so I'm not sure.
Okay.
Um,
Yeah, we've had
so
her on the show and stuff. I actually ref with her a couple times or whatever.
oh
Yeah, she's cool.
yeah,
She's nice. Yeah, I know her.
so yeah, so that's my first. I'm going there this Saturday. So this weekend's a learning weekend, for me. So no shows. I think the next show that I will probably be at is the Pro South show the following Friday, because Pro South Wrestling runs every Friday, and they have a TV
Mhm.
show that runs on YouTube. So if you wanna see more of what I do, and like on a regular basis, yeah, tune into Pro South on Friday nights on YouTube.
Now, do you keep a journal of the matches that you've refed or whatever? Like, because I do that. I mean, I write down like who wrestled, how long the match was. I mean,
Really?
'cause I'll forget. I have a bad memory.
Yeah,
I'm
no.
almost. I turn 40 next month. I mean, I'm like, I'll forget, so I write it all down.
So you and I are roughly around the same age. So I mean, I I don't know if that's something I should be doing. I mean, if I'm asking, if I'm asking somebody else who does that, is it something worth doing? Um,
I guess it's a personal thing. Like if you want to, I mean, yeah, I just feel like like 5, 10 years down the line, like, hey, I've ref this guy's match, da, 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 you see right here, or this person,
right.
this guy, gal, whatever.
Sure.
Yeah.
No, I don't do that. I haven't really had an urge to do that. I kind of keep it, up here. I'm one of those type of people that, and it's not the same if you're actually writing it down. Maybe it's not the same as what I'm about to say, but like people who, watch and do things through the lens of their phone, they're so busy taking a picture or taking video of something that they kind of miss it with their own eyes. I just like to be in the moment, you know.
Yeah.
Everybody else who's filming or taking pictures, I'll stumble onto that, later on down the road and be like, oh yeah, I did that. But yeah, I really haven't necessarily had a desire to do something like that, unfortunately. No.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, I just figured I'd ask. Yeah, I kind of keep notes and stuff like when I was training and stuff. Like, yeah, do this, so I can study, look back on, like, so I don't forget. You know what I mean? Try to learn basics. Always try to keep
Right,
the fundamentals. You know what I mean?
right. Hmm.
So now, before I pass it on back to Remy, I do want to ask: do you have any, funny stories, that has happened to you over the, since your time as reffing, from traveling to show or whatever, maybe something happened on the way. Because I mean, you're down south, man. Maybe Sasquatches run out in the road or something. You know what I mean? So, So yeah, y'all got some crazy stuff down there.
No, I really can't say that I have a Bigfoot sighting, even though I think that would make my year if I had a
Yeah,
Bigfoot sighting. Or like UFOs. I'm a big I'm not like that Blink 182 guy UFO nut, but I do like to dabble in the the conspiracy theories and like UFO type things. So looking at the sky is always kind of fun. But I mean, no, not not really. I don't have any crazy stories yet. It's been a pretty tame ride. Um, you know, on my road trips. I've had, there have been like, show instances and kind of like neat things that I've had gotten to do since I started. But as far as like crazy or funny stories, no, not really. I usually ride alone. So if anybody anybody wants to tag along sometimes to my road trips, is an open call. But I
that's right.
usually ride alone, so I don't have a whole lot of riding experience with a whole lot of folks. But every time there's a person in the car, I can tell you it makes the time go by so much faster.
That's right.
The
That's right. Yeah,
the conversation flows, and then you're just somehow the 3 hour ride is gone.
that's right. Yeah, I'm with you. I like watching that UFO stuff and all. I did see a UFO one time when I was younger. I was at the NASCAR races. They have NASCAR here in Dover and all, and where
Hmm.
we're at. And I'm over there, man. I seen a UFO, and it sent me a message in big bright yellow letters. Told me I was going to have a good year. And when I think on it, what I mean, I had a bad year that year, and then nobody else was freaking out about it. You know what I mean? I'm like, yeah, what's up with this? You know what I mean? So I was like, man, I don't know. Yeah, so that's my one UFO experience. So
I wonder if
UFO sending
anybody,
me the wrong message.
I wonder if anybody else has seen that one. Maybe, right?
Yeah, I know. I don't
Who knows?
know. Yeah,
Maybe I've seen one too.
yeah. There you go. You might have, man. But
Yeah.
yeah. Before I pass it on back to Remy, I do want to say, thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule to come on chat with us. I definitely had a blast. Uh,
Pleasure's mine.
I wish you nothing but the best and the positive things that happened to you, your career, your family, nothing but all the good things and all that good stuff, man.
Thank you. I appreciate it, man. That's bottom of my heart. Thank you.
Lewis, Lewis has got to say, it's been an honor to have you on our show. Thank you very much. We really appreciate you, taking time out of your busy schedule to, just shoot the breeze about refereeing and pro wrestling and all that. And let me be the first. I don't know if anybody has thanked you before, but if they have, you're probably going to hear it for the millionth time. Thank you for all that you've done in professional wrestling and that you continue to do as a professional referee. And we wish you nothing but success. And we hope to see you maybe in WWE, maybe AEW, Impact, New Japan. We definitely hope it works out for you. And just best believe when we see that, I'll be calling Rob and our other co-host Kathy, who couldn't be here unfortunately today, and be like, "Yo, check out who's refereeing this match. It's Lewis Santiago. We just had him on the show. Like, wow, So it's we'll definitely be rooting for you, man. And
Thank you.
we like I said, just keep on cranking out those great showcases, man. For those of y'all that don't know, every month or every 2 months, the Nightmare Factory, which has actually given us many stars like Julia Hart, um, I forgot Dylan McQueen. I almost forgot the guy's name. The Renegade Twins and so on. They've been giving us top-notch showcases. So go make sure you go ahead and check them out. No, Nightmare Factory's not cutting me a check for this. This is just how much I love their work. Go on YouTube, check out Nightmare Factory student showcases. Student showcases. You don't have to pay anything for them. So all you have to do is just pay attention. That's all. You don't have to pay a single cent. They're all free. Go ahead and check them out. You won't be bored. As a matter of fact, you will see some OMG moments. I haven't
Yeah.
even seen. I haven't even fully seen Student Showcase 4, but Katie Hebner already shocked me with the way that she took down Reka Tahaka with the Rings of Saturn. I'm still trying to get over seeing that, and she
I
was
was
the
there.
smallest one in the fight. So y'all definitely make sure y'all check out what these people in the great state of Georgia are doing. And with that being said, it's about time for us to shut this down. But before we do so, Lewis, where can fans find you on social media when they want to find out when your next appearance
So
is?
so the main so my main social media is Facebook. I know I gotta kind of get up with the times and try and get, like Twitter and Instagram, but small steps for me. Mainly Facebook right now, and I think the hashtag is at 123 Ref Santiago. They can follow my professional page there. I will announce future bookings. If somebody wants to book me, that is the best place to contact me as well. Um, and again, just trying to grow that space. So anyone who wants to, please like and share, and then we'll just see you on the road.
Awesome. So y'all definitely make sure y'all check out this man's work. Promoters, if you are looking for a referee, especially a referee from an accredited wrestling school, hit up Luis Santiago. Trust me, the man is chomping at the bit to get some work done for y'all. So hit this man up. But with that being said, it's about time for us to shut down this show. Rob Bass, the Mel Gibson to my Danny Glover, the Sean Spencer to my Burton Guster, and I guess the Dr. Sam Baxter to my Al, Quantum
Yeah.
Leap reference. R.I.P. Dean. Oh, I forgot the guy's name, but Al died recently. R.I.P.
Yeah.
Alcovici. You were a cool dude.
Yeah.
But yes, the Dr. Sam Baxter to my Al. Where can fans find you on social media when they want to find out when your next appearance is, or when they want to purchase Rob Bass merchandise? And where can bookers and promoters find you when they want to book you for their shows?
You can find me on Twitter, Instagram, and Twitch at Rob_Base82, and then Facebook, YouTube, Rob Base.
Cool. And if you want to find me on social media, not that I have anything interesting or cool to say, but who knows, maybe you'll get lucky. You can find me on Twitter at the Remy Blue. You can also find me on Facebook under the alias Remy Blue. You can also find me on no, that's it. That's it for pretty much me. But you can also find our podcast on social media. We're on Instagram and Twitter at Ringside Society. We're on Facebook as a Facebook group under the name Ringside Society. We're also on Twitch at Ringside Society 2019, and we're also on YouTube, where we have a lot of impressive interviews like this one, Katie Hebner, Paul Espinal, Cuatro Cabezas, and many others. So definitely just go ahead and follow us on YouTube. Go on, you just all you have to do is go on there, type in Ringside Society, and when you see that sweet OMG dark blue and light blue yin yang sign with the blue flames around it, you'll know it's us. So make sure you subscribe to all of our videos because you don't want to miss it. You want to miss it either. As a matter of fact, here's a spoiler alert: we're going to be having Raiden the Destroyer from Nightmare Factory Class 3 on our show tomorrow. So you definitely don't want to miss that. We're also on Block Talk Radio, where you can listen to our earlier episodes from season 1 and seasons 2. And we're also on Spotify now as well. So definitely hit us up on those platforms. And last but not least, we also have a Teespring store where we sell official Ringside Society merchandise. We have long sleeve shirts, we have t-shirts, we have hoodies for the hoodie season, even though it's freezing cold up here in New York. And we have tank tops for summer this year. And we also have coffee mugs for your favorite warm beverage. So definitely go ahead, check out our website, cop some Ringside Society merch. All proceeds go back into keeping this show afloat. And with that being said, we just want to thank everybody that tuned in tonight live. We really and truly appreciate you. To those of y'all that are going to listen to us later on, thank you very much in advance. And to those of y'all that hate us, can't stand us, really and truly wish we'd go away, well, like myself at a Golden Corral and Rob Bass at a Taco Festival, we're not going anywhere for a while.
They hate us because they ain't us.
And we ain't
Yeah.
stopping. So with that being said, we just want to let everybody know that we here at Ringside Society are very well aware that everybody and their grandparents and their parents have a podcast. But we're not your grandparents' podcast. We're not your parents' podcast. As a matter of fact, we're not just any podcast. Hey, yo, Rob Bass. Well, hashtag we are not the same. But Rob Bass, one time for the mind, one time for the people, one time for the wrestling culture, and one time for referee Lewis Santiago of the
Woo.
Nightmare Factory. What type of podcast are we?
We're a wrestling fans podcast.
That's right, we're the Wrestling Fans Podcast, Ringside Society, and we will be back tomorrow with Raiden the Destroyer. You don't want to miss it. He's a big dude. He's a mean dude. I wouldn't want no smoke with him, even if I was a smoker on 420. But definitely check it out tomorrow. We'll be back with him. But until then, just do us a favor. Do 4 things for us. Stay safe, stay healthy, be excellent to each other, and party on, dudes. We out. Peace.
See y'all. Good night. Stay classy,
Thanks,
Delaware.
guys. Thank you.
See ya.